Dr. Pratyush is the curator of the Sayajibaug Zoo in Baroda. He is a well-known zoologist and wildlife conservationist with a doctorate in zoology focusing on
Herpetofauna.
herpetofauna. He has over a decade of expertise in wildlife sciences and has taught at numerous universities, including MSU and Navrashna University. He has led several zoo redevelopment projects, including the innovative open-moated enclosures and the walk in aviaries, earning the recognition from Central Zoo Authority. As an accredited expert in ecology and diversity, he contributes to environmental conservation and currently holds the position of in-charge director of the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Planetarium also. It is under his administration that the Baroda Zoo has the finest collection of birds in the state. We are from the Hertage Trust are very privileged to have you here, sir, to share your expertise today, discussing Sayajibaug Zoo's evolution from past to present. After the talk, we'll have a couple of minutes for some questions and answers before we move to Swapna.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, sure. I will. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope I'm audible to all. Right. First of all, I thank Heritage Trust for inviting me to this event and the Varsa Vaato. I am thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity, and with a small brief introduction of mine, let us have the today's talk about Varsa Vaato, one of the great legacy what Maharaja Sayajiram has left behind is Sri Sayajibaug, the entire Sayajibaug and the Sayajibaug Zoo. So if we talk about Sri Sayajibaug Zoo, as we know that it's one of the icons of Vadodara city. If you look into the entire Western India, nowhere else you find such a large public garden right in the heart of the city. Nowhere else. There are larger public places, parks and gardens, but they are either on the outskirts or little away from the city. When Maharaja established this particular beautiful park, then it was that time outside the old city, roughly 3 kilometers from the walled city of Vadodara, but now it has come right in the heart of the city. And today this beautiful place, first of all I will focus on the entire Sayajibaug before coming to the zoo, which is within the garden itself. So the entire Sayajibaug itself serves a major ecological service to the city by acting as the lungs of the city, providing the most important life-saving element, the oxygen, free of cost. So Sri Sayajibaug entire campus, the green campus spread over almost 112 acres. It encompasses 3 major departments in it administratively: the Parks and Garden Department, the Zoo Department, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Planetarium. Again, one of the unique building in terms of architecture. The beautiful pyramid-shaped building which was constructed in the year 1976. So Sri Sayajibaug, the entire campus was gifted by the Honorable Maharaja, the Shriman Sayajirao Gaikwad, to his beloved citizens in the year 1879. And the foundation day is 8th January. So just this 8th January 2024, we celebrated 145th Foundation Day of Sayajibaug. It was in the year 1875 when Maharaja selected this entire piece of land on the bank of river Vishwamitri when he envisioned to develop this entire public park and garden. This idea was developed by, as we know much about Maharaja, and I'm pretty sure many of you must have read a lot about our revered Maharaja. He used to roam in the European countries for almost 8 months a year, and 3-4 months he used to be here in the hometown, and he used to execute the projects whatever he had seen there and envision those projects and start the development over here. I still wonder that in the 19th century, without any now we are gifted with emails. it's the communication across the globe is within fraction of minutes. In that time also, how he must be monitoring that the projects are going very well when he is away. So just, I still don't understand the kind of management he had designed, that he used to come here 3 months, the project used to be planned, the site used to be selected, the engineers and the architects and engineers used to be roped in, the funds used to be allocated, and the execution used to begin. Again, he was off on his abroad journeys. By the time he used to return back, the projects should have been almost in a good, depending upon the quantum of work, either they would be midway round or near completion. But it's really surprising that in his absentia also, the projects used to run very well and without any faster mode of communication. So the Sayajibaug, which he selected in the land which he selected was in 1875, and it took him 4 years to develop this beautiful park and the entire park and garden. He roped in one of the best landscape designers and horticulturists from European countries. To name the 2 people behind the development was Goldring, British landscape designer who was instrumental in designing the entire landscape of Sayajibaug, and a German horticulturist called G.H. Krumbigel, who went along to develop the entire horticulture collection of the Sayajibaug. Later, he roped in the zoo also. So that is how the zoo also started. Earlier, I don't know many of you whether are aware of or not, the Lakshmi Vilas Palace itself houses a private zoo of Maharaja, which was managed by Maharaja Fateh Singh Zoo Trust under the Khangi Kacheri, that is in Indumati Mahal. So Maharaja had, managing or maintaining wildlife was a royal hobby. It was not anybody's cup of tea. Even the common man's today also, it's not a cup of tea for a common man. And even today our law also doesn't permit to have private zoos in India so far. So Maharaja had a private zoo collection inside his palace, and I've heard stories from my grandparents and parents that the cheetah, which is one of the project cheetah, is one of the very hot topic right now, and we are still looking forward. There are a lot of debate over whether the cheetahs will see the future in India or not, and let's be optimistic. We definitely expect the cheetahs will see a very bright future in India, because that was the only big cat which went extinct from India on the turn of independence, right? Just we became independent in 1947, and 1948 was the year when the last cheetah in the wild was shot dead. So we lost cheetah very recently, we can say. So, and we are now looking forward for cheetah reintroduction in India, one of the major and ambitious project of the country. So that time cheetahs used to be tamed by these royals, and they used to be used for hunting. Hunting was one of the sport. Hunting, we look into 2 categories. One is hunting as a sport, and one is a illegal hunting, that is poaching, which is meant for some commercial aspect. The hunting as a sport had got proper rules. It had proper, defined rules, that what kind of guns, what kind of rifles to be used, what way the hunting has to be planned, and the entire hunting parties used to go, and the entire game was properly organized. So that time cheetahs were especially used for hunting antelopes like black bucks. The Maharaja also had his own private shikargah, which is roughly, I would probably say some 16-18 kilometers from this place right now. That is a village called Sundarpura. Sundarpura, you just cross on the Mumbai highway, leave Baroda, onto your left near Varnama village, you will come a place called Sundarpura. A nice shikar koti of Maharaja is, I don't know how, what condition the building is there today, but that used to be the private shikargah of Maharaja, wherein Maharaja had brought the black bucks, and the shikar with the help of cheetahs used to be done. My grandparents tell that the palace staff used to have the cheetahs on the leash, and they used to take them along in the walk in Dandiya Bazaar area, because we earlier used to stay in Dandiya Bazaar. So they used to be blindfolded, and they used to follow their keepers, and it has been, even my parents have seen this. I haven't seen, but my parents said the cheetah used to be taken on a walk like dogs, and one of the only big cat which nicely gets trained and easy to handle. Unlike lions and tiger, cheetahs are very agile and light built, and if out of control, a good, a well-built physique, human can even fight back it also, which is not possible with a lion or a tiger, right? Which is more mighty and rather, difficult to withhold. But cheetahs are more easier, where more, and the cheetah training, I will not say taming, but the cheetah training, historical records are there from the time of Shahanshah Akbar. From Akbar Nama, you will find the records of cheetahs being trained and kept for hunting purpose by various from Mughals, Rajputs and Marathas. So all these three rulers have kept cheetahs in this way. So Maharaja had his own private zoo inside the palace, and later the zoo was transferred over to Sri Sayajibaug as a gift by the Maharaja to this particular, to the city. Now, interestingly, we must understand one thing: how the concept of zoo arise in the world. So the concept of zoo also arises somewhere in the European countries, wherein, like India, the entire continent of Europe is also, was once upon a time of bunch of princely states, different small kings and princesses and all of various. Majority, of course, Great Britain was the largest of the kingdom, but there are other smaller states, all princely states also. And Europeans were the ones to, navigate the maximum around the world, and they found out a great diversity of animals all across, and they also knew and they realized that not all people from their, the country are able to go cross country and have a look at these animals. That is where the wildlife trade also began. They started capturing the wild animals, lodging them on ships, loading them on ships and bringing them to the natives and, exhibiting them to the people as a part of amusement, as a part of recreation. So zoos were initially established as a part of recreation, just to show the people the variety of wild animals what one sees around. Now, of course, we know the wildlife is really dwindling. That's a complete different topic to talk about. But that's how the concept of zoo started. So all the kings and princes, that is how, adopting the same idea, the royals of India, like Baroda state, you look into all the major princely states of India, which were financially, very sound. They went ahead with this project of zoo. To name a few includes, like, because we are here, so let's keep Baroda on the top. So Baroda, Mysuru, Gwalior, Kolhapur, these are certain very prosperous states of India, and they went ahead with this project of zoos, and so as a social service to the society, that people should come and also admire the wildlife. The idea was not to just cage the animals and give them the confinement and captivity and keep them in a improper or a cruel way. Nowadays, there's a school of thoughts thinking always that zoos are cruel, or they should be stopped, they should be banned. There's a debatable topic. But basically, when these zoos were established in the olden times also, of course, Jaipur, Udaipur also, these were also some of the princely states who started off with the zoos. The zoos then were also designed with two major principles. One, the privacy of animal, and secondly, the safety of the keeper. These two things are also taken into consideration. However, there was no guidelines or no regulation or norms that how much area should be given. That's the reason these animals were behind the bars and in a cage kind of a setup. But in that particular setup also, the feeding of the animals was never compromised. They were given the best quality of the food. Animals used to breed very well in the zoos. They used to maintain that the bloodline remains stronger, and because at that time there was no regulation that you have to bring animal from other zoo only. Animals used to be captured from the wild to maintain the genetic variability also. So the zoos unknowingly also in the earlier times were scientifically better managed, well off managed. That's what I will definitely say. So the Sayajibaug Zoo, also well established by the Maharaja. If you still go and look into the tiger section, which we now have made it an off display one nowadays, one of the best designs enclosures I have ever seen. the kind of material and the architecture done then, I don't think so today we can make that kind of thing. So my consultant, who always, when we have deliberations over zoo development, I had insisted upon not to touch the tiger section at all. So he said, then sir, itna bada jagah aap kya karenge? What will I said? We will use this as quarantine section as per the new norms, use this as off display breeding section, but we will not do any structural changes in this section. So we have kept the entire tiger section intact just because we will not be able to make such kind of architecture or such kind of strong construction now. So the Sayajibaug Zoo has seen a glorious journey of 145 years, right? Established in the year gifted by the Maharaja in the year 1879, today in 2024. So now in 1992, a central body came into picture, the Central Zoo Authority, which is the regulatory body for all the zoos across the country, right? And as per this particular zoo, we are abided by the Central Zoo Authority that we have to follow the developmental norms of the Central Zoo Authority and develop the new enclosures as per their regulations. So now whatever the zoo development is happening, we are giving the animals more naturalistic environment, giving them more open spaces. The concept only is unzoo the zoo, right? So the zoo is a zoo, the animal is in confinement, but more or less the animal finds an open space. Sorry. Well, so the zoo earlier, when was managed by the palace only, it was managed under Maharaja Fateh Singh Zoo Trust. Shri Gautam Singh Ji Gaikwad, he was the honorary curator of the zoo. It was in 1960 when Vadodara Municipal Bureau, now Vadodara Municipal Corporation, when Vadodara Municipal Bureau was established in 1960, the zoo was transferred administratively to Vadodara Municipal Corporation. However, still the hold from the royal family still remained till almost 1980s, when my predecessor, Shri Vijayaraj Jadeja, he got appointed as the first full-time curator of the zoo. Till then, Gautam Singh Ji Gaikwad continued to remain as honorary curator and managing the zoo holistically. You will still find lot of historical, or I would say ancient architecture inside the zoo. One of the best thing I also found was, yes, as I was telling the history about the zoo. So zoos were established with the aspect of recreation, but slowly and gradually zoo became a center for education. The oldest known record of the zoo managed by any trust or a society is the London Zoo. The London Zoo, established in the year 1828 by the Zoological Society of London, and from 1828 till date, it is still managed by ZSL, Zoological Society of London. Later, so just 4 years down the line, the zoo will complete its 200 years. So the London Zoo, followed by that the Berlin Zoo in 1836, the Prague Zoo in 1842. So that's how the zoos, public run zoos are coming into picture. And so when it comes to India, the historical records in India are little vague or vagrant, I can say. In Gujarat, the two zoos established by the then royals, the Sayajibaug Zoo in Junagadh, established by the Nawab Mahabat Khanji of Junagadh in the year 1863, and the Sri Sayajibaug Zoo by our Maharaja in the year 1879. So was the Mysore Zoo in 1892, and subsequently the zoos followed like that. Some of the zoos were established by Britishers, like the Alipur Zoo in Kolkata, made by Britishers, the Chennai Zoo, again by Britishers, the former Rani Sa Bagh in Mumbai, now of course Veer Mata Jizabai Bhosle Udyan, again established by Britishers. So these are some of the ancient zoos, a few established by the Indian royals and few established by the Britishers, now taken over by the administration under India either by forest department, municipal corporation, or maybe another some trust or so. So as zoo developed as a center for education, this particular idea in Baroda was probably even stated before this mandate of the zoo came into picture. If you remember, many of you, if you remember the seeing zoo in the past or today also, there were lot many murals and sculptures of animals depicting the stories of Panchatantra. If you know the stories of Panchatantra, which always talks about, each story gives some moral, and the stories are always having animal characters which are interacting, like humans, and they are conveying us a lot of morals and principles of life. So lot many Panchatantra stories in the form of murals and sculptures are depicted in the zoo. We have tried to maintain many of them intact, and the few which probably have been, I would say, dilapidated or broken with the time, we are planning to reconstruct them back, those stories, and place them at appropriate places again. So that is how the stories of Panchatantra are there, so which also signifies the education component of the zoo, again focused by the Maharaja. Okay, so now when it came to the zoo development, Baroda Zoo was earlier also very well known for its bird collection. The bird collection of Baroda Zoo was one of the very good across the country, and we were very expert in breeding some of the exotic birds. So when I took over as a curator of the zoo went through a very bottleneck situation administratively in the decade of 2005-2015. However, in that particular 10-year span, the collection remained quite moderate, but we thought to again regain it. Birds were more easy to handle. The spaces required for the housing of the birds were relatively less as compared to the mammal species, because mammals required a little larger and more places. So we thought of investing into the bird collection. Luckily, it so happened that in 2017, myself and my then commissioner, Shri Vinod Rao, we both visited one aviary at the same, at different times, but the same aviary. And when he visited later than me, so from there he called me up and he said, Pratyush, we have to do an aviary project. I said, okay, sir, fine. So after 2 days, he came back, taking the entire map of the zoo. For 1 hour, we went around in the entire zoo campus in the golf car, and that's how the entire aviary layout was laid down. Central Zoo Authority gave its kind approval, and sir, of course, I would give credit to sir, because it was he who straight away drew the grant from state government, 1 go grant for state government, 15 crores of grant to develop the entire aviary project, and that's what the result today is. And Central Zoo Authority recognized the aviary project as one of the innovations in zoo designing, because we have an elevated pathway which goes from ground level to almost at a height of 20 feet, and then you come down, right? So this is one of the unique pathways we have developed for going through the entire, and the entire aviary project is designed upon bird taxonomy and zoogeographical distribution. So birds is one of the most specious group of vertebrates when it comes to the higher vertebrates: birds, mammals, reptiles, and amphibians. So amphibians and reptiles form what is the herpetofauna you call about, and the birds and mammals. So of these 4 groups, the most diverse group is of birds. So, and they are spread all across the continent. So we went again to develop it in such a way that Australian section, African section, Indian section, pigeons, passerines, an entire pheasantry, and the mixed species wetland aviary for Indian birds, mixed species wetland aviary for exotic birds, and an entire parrot aviary of Amazon. The South American region is the one which has got the maximum bird diversity, that has got the most diversity of especially the parrot group, which is the most interactive group of bird when it comes to the bird, because they are the ones who have the, they are gifted with a muscular tongue like we have, and the ability to speech is only with parrots. So we have got a very good collection of parrots, and I'm very happy to share with you people that after its opening and in 2022, now almost 60% of the birds have well established and they started breeding very well in our facility. Right. So this is one of our very good achievement, and it's my team's achievement, not just my entire team, my biologists, my education officers, and my veterinarians all put together have nicely focused on natural breeding, artificial breeding, foster parenting, and all techniques put together. Every year we are getting good number of chicks from all the exotic birds. Okay, so and the ones which are still establishing, maybe depending upon their life cycles, they also will start breeding in the near time to come. With this particular setup, we are now in the process of our phase 2 of expansion of the aviary, procuring the other remaining collection plan, which we will shortly bring. The old zoo had very nice, so when Maharaja gifted the, or rather gave away the zoo to the municipal corporation, it was not just the animal collection what they gave. They also gave the entire staff. The entire staff which was once on the payroll of Maharaja, that entire staff now came on the payroll of municipal corporation. And that is the reason, the most interesting thing is, I have today also have animal keepers who are either second or third generation serving in the zoo itself, because they grew up with their parents in the zoo. As a kids, they are not more educated, but their experience knowledge is one of the most wonderful thing. Today also, if I have to take any decision about the animal, I first take concern of my animal keeper, because his experience is more rated over our book knowledge, because he has perfect information about the animal which he has gained through his years of experience. There are keepers who have worked, whose services is almost nearly 30-35 years with the zoo. I can say they were born in the zoo, they grew up with their parents in the zoo. Many of them got the Varsa Naukri, the scheme which the government used to run. A couple of them are like that, because a few of them died in service. The son got the permanent job, and that is how, that's why it's very apt, Varsa ni Vaato, because they can tell me the entire Varso, what they're carrying from their grandparents, parents, and now, they are parents, whatever generation. So this was very, very important for me to, nurture this entire staff also. It is not just nurturing the animal, but nurturing this staff, or, keeping the entire, the welfare of the staff was also very important, because they are the backbone of the zoo. The animal keepers are the backbone of the zoo. Though administratively it may be a class 4 position, but they are the ones who actually know each and every small aspect of the animal, and they tell us, સાહેબ આજ પાણી નહીં, આજે પાણી નથી પીધું, આજે વોમિટ જેવું લાગે છે, આજે હગારમાં આવું થયું છે. They keep all minute observation, and their observations to the veterinary doctor are the ones which help us do the animal welfare. So for a zoo, animal welfare as well as human welfare, that both are our purview. We have to look into both. The sectioning of the zoo was so nice that it were, names given. The tiger section used to be known, the Wagh Khana, the Reech Khana, Hathi Khana, Haran Khana, Popat Khana, Chidiya Khana. So when I joined, and today also we have kept those names alive. This is important. No doubt, we do give, our zoo authority wants that, you should give proper English naming and all should be there. But the old names, we have still maintained that it is required. So when I am planning any new section, Bandar Khana, yes, I forgot to mention, Bandar Khana. So when I am developing a section, I also see that if I am able to carry this traditional name also. No doubt, we can give some good fancy names, like maybe like an elephant odyssey, or maybe the primate plaza, cat complex. Now there's such names appear, but I feel these names are very nice. Wagh Khana, right? Hathi Khana. The Hathi Khana is very interesting story, because I have my my fond memories with the elephant section. Elephant is one of my most favorite animal, and I can spend hours. I have spent rather hours together in my childhood observing elephants. So there is Baroda Zoo had 3 cow elephants, again gifted by Maharaja. They were Gulabkali, Anarkali, and Champakali. These 3 cow elephants were gifted by the Maharaja to the zoo, and there used to be elephant ride. There were 3 animal joy rides which used to be there for kids. One was Tattu Chalak, Tattu Savari. Bakra Gadi Savari, and Elephant Savari. Right, all three. The Hathi stand is still there in the garden. Many times when people now take a walk, there is a abandoned structure still lying there. Nobody knows what is the use of this structure. सब सोचते हैं कि वो यहाँ पे सीढ़ियाँ है, ऊपर जाके क्या करने का. There is a jali and there is a small cut where the elephant will use to stand and the kids will sit in the ambari. The elephant will take a round completely, again stand there. The next lot of those kids will get down. The next lot of kids will will be seated. So that's how the elephant savari used to happen. Recently, I in the process of disposing of the old records and all, we need to do that because certain old record it's little bit difficult to maintain many old records. So I had a lot of old tickets. So one of my clerks said कि sir ये बहुत पुराना tickets का पूरा ये है, let's destroy this, no need of this, nowadays these tickets are non-needed. Sir क्या है लेकिन bring them. So those tickets were elephant सवारी 1 rupee, बकरा गाड़ी सवारी 50 पैसा. राइट, ऐसे एक काम करना, इसका पूरा फाइल बनाओ डिस्कार्ड का, बट इसमें से 2 टिकट निकाल लिया. आई सेड यू लैमिनेट दिस एंड कीप दिस इज आवर रिकॉर्ड. So just to, these are all, this make me nostalgic because I have nicely utilized all these 3 rides. The Mehkam, that is the staff schedule, today also holds post of Tattu Chalak, Bakra Gadi Chalak and Mahavat. Right. So Mahavat is of course vacant right now because Mahavat's also, as the elephants died, the Mahavat's also passed away. We have the Tattu Chalak and Bakra Gadi Chalak are still there, but unfortunately those posts will be abolished after these people retire. Now, since the joy rides, animal rides are not allowed by Central Zoo Authority, doesn't permit them. But Mahavat post I still had. There was a heavy debate with my administration department. अरे हाथी नहीं है महावत. मैंने कल को आएगा तो क्या करोगे? So we are the only zoo in the Gujarat who has got approved and sanctioned post of Mahavat on our Mehkam. Right. So, and with a great difficulty, I am holding that. I said, nothing doing, I will not abolish this post. So, bole aap hathi to le. I said, I'll get the elephants, don't worry, but Mahavat post will not go. Right. So, this is the, so such a thoughtfully designed thing. So, as we know, Maharaja Sayajibaug, as a great, admirer of art, culture, philosophy, science, at the very same time, he also invested in people. He handpicked people from all the places, and not just top people, when to name a few, as we very well know, he supported Raja Ravi Verma, he supported Bal Gandharva, he supported so many academicians and great thinkers. He also invested upon lower staff. That is where you see the design, the Mehkam of the zoo, that thoughtfully all the posts were kept. Ki, oh, ye animal to ye post chahiye hoga. So those posts were also transferred in the same way as I am telling you, that from the palace, staff, that Mehkam was transferred to corporation, and for years together, those posts have been running. Now, of course, depending upon the few things, when we know that this particular post probably will not be filled or not required, either we convert it or we abolish it. But some post like as a Mahavat, I am holding it, and I don't know, probably let's keep our fingers crossed and let's pray to the Almighty that in the coming few years I should be able to get elephant also and fill the post also. Okay, so the Hathi Khana, it was a very beautiful, nice place wherein there are 3 sheds for these 3 elephants. Nice stone pillars to tie the elephants. There was a special well in that Hathi Khana so that elephants don't have a dearth of water at all. Right. So, and an attached quarters. The Mahavat used to stay inside the zoo for upkeep of the elephants. Now that entire elephant section, without making any structural change, I have converted those large elephant sheds into off-display bird breeding, and the Mahavat quarter I have converted into hatchery room. Right. And my doctors, nicely utilize them with all their incubators and brooder chambers and everything. But I have not changed that entire setup at all. I said nothing will happen and no demolition. The same structure, refurbish it, strengthen it and reuse it. Similarly, if you remember the old bird section, how many of you remember the old bird section? Very small chhatris, Have you ever marked the shape of that chhatris? They are all octagonal in shape. The reason, you must be knowing, Maharaja Sayajibaug was a believer of numerology. and 8 was his lucky number. So when you look into all his architecture, you will find octagon shape as most prominent. All the clock towers, they are all octagonal in shape, right? So 8 was his lucky number. So majority of those bird chhatris, they were all octagonal. But yes, they were so small ones, we had to demolish them because with the new norms, we need to provide birds also good flying space, both vertical and horizontal space we need to provide the birds. So we demolished majority of them, but one particular structure which had a very nice name and I kept them as to retain the Maharaja's legacy called Popat Bangli. So of all those small structures, there was one big octagonal structure with 8 cages and all interconnected and with a very nice, operating mechanism. That entire structure, I retained it, refurbished it, painted it, again housed the birds in that. That Popat Bangli as an octagonal structure is retained to maintain Maharaja's legacy. Also, when we planned the walk-in aviary, if you take the aerial view or the drone photo picture of the aviary, the octagon shape is the shape of the aviary. So we cannot forget his legacy. It is he who made so many wonderful institutions for Vadodara, and today also many families are earning their bread and butter from these marvelous institutions what he has gifted to the city. I think with this I will do I hold time or I'm done? Yeah, I think I'll just stop. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a patient hearing.
One question.
Yeah.
Earlier, I remember when our kids were young, we were allowed to sort of adopt an animal or a bird in the zoo. Is that still on?
Still going on. The Friends of Zoo scheme is still there, and we have many adopters every year almost. Now even we have corporate adopters. There's a company in Baroda, there's an MNC whose head office is in Bangalore, and what they do is across India, wherever their offices are there, if the city has a zoo, they come and adopt a tiger. So for the past 2 years, they were only adopting one. From this year, they adopted both our tigers. Right. So the Friends of Zoo scheme is still functional, and any one of you wants to join that. There are 2-3 NRI citizens who specifically come once in a year and they renew their adoptions, and they adopt it on the occasion of their grandchildren's birthday or something like that, and they come and do this adoption process. Some of the adopters are keeping very much in touch, but nowadays now I have a very strong supportive hand, my education officer, who probably will also meet you on the event which is announced for the 5th, and he keeps the entire database, and just before the adoption period is ending, he puts a reminder email to all of them, a request reminder. Anyone who wants to renew it, it's of course voluntary. So the emails from our offices are coming, and whoever wishes to renew it, they do come and renew it. So the scheme is very much in practice, yes.
There's a lot of scope for research in the zoos.
Yeah.
And also, especially the animals which are likely near extinction, as breeding centers. So how is our zoo looking at the research and the efforts for, say, breeding of extinct species or near extinction?
Okay. So I'll answer your question in 2 parts. One is research, one is conservation breeding. So research is one of the very active thing, and since I came from the university background, I myself had a very inclination towards research. Unfortunately, I really feel very bad that majority of my time is eaten up by the administrative work, and I'm unable to focus on science part. But luckily, my veterinarians have taken it up very well, and so far we have published almost 5 to 6 research papers and 2 research dissertation theses from the zoo, but in the veterinary science. From zoology, we have already we are supporting the students of zoology from MS University who can take up their dissertations and all, and we encourage them to publish papers. However, I don't think so recent publication from zoology side has happened, but my veterinarians have taken up the research very well, and from veterinary science we are coming, because zoo veterinary science is again a very untouched subject. Whatever veterinary literature you all have about the livestock, you all have about poultry, but when it comes to wild veterinary, it's one of the very untouched subject today also. So we are promoting that. Coming to the conservation breeding part, the conservation breeding is like education, conservation breeding is also one of the major mandate of the zoo. And Central Zoo Authority has listed out 73 species of birds, mammals and reptiles which are conservation importance. And of this 73, 26 species are in the list of priority. So Central Zoo Authority has already identified zoos across the country who are coordinating and participating zoos for all these species. Like Junagadh Zoo is, yes,
Indigenous species.
Indigenous. It is, when it comes to conservation breeding, we are not supposed to focus on any exotic, because even if we breed exotics here well, we aren't able to release them in the wild because they are not native of India. So all the 73 species are indigenous species. Like Sayajibaug Zoo is running the conservation breeding program of Asiatic lion, wild ass, both the species endemic to Gujarat, wolf, choshinga. So similarly, conservation breeding program are given to, mandates have been given to the zoo. We as currently, I forgot to mention that zoos are categorized depending upon different criteria by the Central Zoo Authority in 4 categories: large, medium, small and mini. Currently we are in the medium category and we are having all the potential to go in the large category now. So in this category, Central Zoo Authority has also asked us to write a conservation breeding plan for some of the species which will be native to Central Gujarat. Now, when it comes to Central Gujarat Wildlife Circle, we have 3 sanctuaries which fall in Central Gujarat: the Jambugoda Sanctuary, the Ratanmal Sanctuary and the Shulpaneshwar Sanctuary. So, talking these 3 sanctuaries, we are planning to focus on conservation breeding program of 3 species, that is, one is Choshinga, the 4-horned antelope, barking deer and red jungle fowl. So let us see how we are able to go about it. So if the Ajwa project, with the very first question you asked me, if the Ajwa project kickstarts, we have a area well defined for conservation breeding, because when it will be a conservation breeding, it will not be accessible to all the people, because that particular stock has to go back in the wild. So we cannot have a very regular human interaction with those individuals. Of these 3 species, whatever I named, red jungle fowls we already started breeding very well. So now we are in a process probably to establish a separate off-display breeding facility for red jungle fowl, and we might propose to Central Zoo Authority for some funding and give us the mandate of conservation breeding for red jungle fowls in Central Gujarat.
Will they be released in the wild?
If we get good numbers, we will have to design a complete scientific proposal for releasing them in the wild, and that has happened to happen through the PCCF Wildlife and the Central Zoo Authority. So even if we plan to release, we will focus only on the protected areas of Central Gujarat, that is Jambugoda, Shulpaneshwar and Ratanmal. Because Junagadh is already doing it for Saurashtra and North Gujarat region. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks for being here. I think you spoke about the elephant ride. I've done that myself. I also remember the Bakra Gadi. Right?
Yeah. So Bakra Gadi is also there. I pada raha hu काफी time से. I am gonna refurbish it nicely and.
So I have very vivid memories of those excursions to Sayajibaug and walking around. So thanks for bringing all that alive today.
Thank you.
And we'll hope to see you on the 5th.
Yeah.
5th, and hopefully see what you've done, what magic you've done there, and maybe enjoy it a little bit more. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Was going to be that after the Bakra Gadi, the Gadi is still there.
The Gadi is still there.
It was fantastic.
Beautiful. It was a mini buggy, right? It was a mini buggy. So what I plan is ki if we are able to develop a natural heritage museum of the zoo, I am gonna fix that Gadi back over there, just people to see that this was the Bakra Gadi. One very unfortunate thing has happened now is the Gadi is still there. We can very much refurbish it and nicely, repaint and do it and make it into a presentable form. I've kept it very nicely safe. But the bakras, the bucks which used to be there, we don't find such kind of animals nowadays. Those huge bucks, they used to stand as tall as, our height. Such bucks, I am not finding it nowadays. not finding it nowadays.
I think just expanding on that, the zoo itself, I think with the traffic park which they had, I think that's where I learned my traffic rules. And I mean, I still see that place and I think
Yeah.
they're not putting it to any use. And somewhere you feel that, we've probably lost a little bit of that training that we used to get as
That
children.
traffic park is it's been redone again.
Great.
It's been very redone again. Right.
Great.
I really feel sorry for the current day kids, because nowadays the kids are unable to play with puppies, kittens, this kids of goat, बकरी के बच्चे जो है वो पहले बहुत दिखते थे अभी नहीं दिखते. तो I really feel sorry for the current day kids कि they don't get exposure. है तो please ले लो, वरना these all childhood memories are which we cherish a lot. Yes, because you're grown up playing with all these animal babies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.